Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Each December since 2014, Coindesk takes stock of the year to date to find the themes, stories, and people that made the biggest impact on crypto, blockchain, and Web3. Ben Schiller, features editor at Coindesk, joins me to discuss Coindesk's most influential 2022 list, the good and the bad. Ben, it is great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. Good to be here.
Most of the first half of 2022 was pretty stable for crypto, still buoyed by a strong 2021 growing mainstream interest and optimism. As the collapse of the FTX empire is still fresh and unraveling, the failures and likely crimes exposed this year are what we will likely remember most. So, Ben, what's your take on 2022?
Yeah, I mean, to use a soccer analogy, it was really a game of two halves. You know, the first year was very much about growth and about investment and asset prices going up. And then in the second half, obviously, we've seen a series of scandals and implosions, most notably the $40 billion implosion of FTX and the fraudulent behavior of SBF. So that's very much the narrative that's kind of active now. But I think at the same time, we've seen a general uptick in the trajectory of the industry and the technology and use cases of the industry. So I think overall, it's been a positive year for crypto when you look at it in the round.
So tell us about the influential 2022 list. What's the methodology behind it?
Yeah, so we do a reader poll where we ask for suggestions from readers, but it's mostly a series of meetings that we have with reporters and editors here. We have a long list that we bring together, about 100 people, and then we whittle that down to 50 people. And then we choose, of that 50, the top 10 influencers of the year. And it's important to remember this isn't just a positive list. You know, influence is both positive and negative. And so while there are a lot of positive stories on the list, we also highlight some of those failures and, bad actors because they are influential in terms of particularly the regulatory and lawmaking conversation that's very active now.
Who are some of the obvious names on the list?
Yeah, so probably the biggest achievement of the year was with Ethereum. It moved from its proof of work consensus mechanism, which is what Bitcoin uses, to proof of stake. That was very important for the future of Ethereum and bringing new investors into the space, particularly environmentally conscious investors, because proof of work has a much smaller footprint than proof of work does than Bitcoin has. So that's a big story this year. Other people on the list, we've got Mikhailo Fedorov, who's the Ukrainian Minister of Digital Transformation. He raised about $200 million in crypto for the war effort there in that country when the fiat traditional financial system was stopping Ukraine from getting money from outside its borders. So that's a big story. And then, as I said, on the less sort of positive side, we have people like Sam Bankman-Fried behind FTX. And what we call the four horsemen of the crypto apocalypse, which are these people, these executives who blew up their companies and lost investors a lot of money, but they have had immense influence in sort of reshaping the regulatory conversation that we're now seeing.
Any other notables?
Those would be the main ones. I think another one I'd like to highlight is a developer called Alexei Pertsev. He's the developer behind a protocol called, or a piece of technology software called Tornado Cash, which is a way of mixing cryptocurrency to hide the identity of the people transacting the transactions. And he was basically sanctioned and then arrested in the Netherlands for his role in developing that protocol. And that was very controversial because it showed that the US government was prepared to go after developers even when they were not responsible for what their code was being used for. So that was a very kind of interesting event, but very controversial in crypto.
Yeah, that really is interesting. It's almost akin to the debate that we have with digital media law and policy, with who's a publisher and who's not. So it's interesting to see how that played out in the crypto space. Ben, what's your outlook for 2023?
Yeah, again, I think it's going to be a mix like this year. Obviously, it's been a tough time for the industry recently. There's a lot of distrust out there amongst the general public, and not unreasonably. And we've seen a lot of tightening of belts and companies laying off people and waiting to see what's coming next. But at the same time, there's still a lot of kind of momentum in this industry. There's a proliferation of use cases, and there's a general improvement in technology. And so I think, once we get through the aftermath of FTX, and once we see a bit of house cleaning and a kind of renewed regulatory debate. I think the industry is still in a very good position going forward, and things are pretty positive.
All right, looking forward to next year's list already. Ben, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.